Hey everybody. So just a word to the wise here, or a word of warning I should say. Today's video has absolutely nothing to do with makeup, so if that's all you're interested in, then bye. I just figured I'd throw that out there because I used to watch people who started mixing it up with their channel, and I was not interested if it had nothing to do with makeup. But yeah, so let's move along here. Yesterday I had asked you guys at the end of the video if you had any suggestions for TV shows, because I only have 2 episodes of Breaking Bad left to watch, and I still have 2 episodes left because we didn't get a chance to watch it last night. And there were tons of suggestions, and the overwhelming suggestion that came up the most was The Walking Dead. And unfortunately I had suggested that to my husband before, and he was not interested in seeing anything that had zombies in it. I don't know, he's just not into it. And so that got vetoed right away. And there are lots and lots of other suggestions that you guys left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, look into them a little bit, find out what the shows are about if I'm not familiar with them, maybe watch some clips or something, and we'll see. I'll let you guys know what we end up deciding on, but I think that, you know, just based on, I wrote it all down on a piece of paper, and just based on looking at this list, some of them I'm familiar with, some of them I'm not, but I think it's a really good reference list. And I don't know if my husband feels the same way about vampires as he does about zombies, but do any of you watch, or did you watch The Vampire Diaries or True Blood? Because those were a couple shows that I was kind of interested in, but I don't know what he's gonna say if I was to suggest one of those, because that might fall into the same category as zombies in his mind. He tends to like things that are more based in reality. You know, I say that, but now I'm thinking back to when we were dating and we were talking about our favorite TV shows of all time, and one of the things that we both mentioned was The X-Files. But that was different, wasn't it? It had that supernatural element to it, but it was done or presented to you in such a way that it was looked at from a sort of scientific perspective, because Mulder and Scully had that, you know, they were approaching it from the vantage point of 2 FBI agents. But anyways, yeah. So I'll get back to you guys and let you know what we end up picking. Okay, so what is this video about today? Because now I'm all done talking about TV shows. Is it just my imagination, or is our world that we live in getting more and more violent every day? And what got me thinking about this was some of the things that are happening on the news right now, but also I was thinking about how on the show Breaking Bad, there was a lot of really extreme violence that was kind of hard to stomach at times. And I think that they had to have that in there to make the show realistic, because we're talking about people who made methamphetamine for a living, and you have to incorporate that whole drug cartel aspect to it to make it realistic, because the show took place in New Mexico, so any business that they did with their drug dealings would kind of interfere with what was going on in South America and so forth. But anyways, it just seems like whenever I turn on the news, and I shouldn't even say that because I don't watch the news. I get all my news in print, and I don't read the newspaper. I get it off the internet. Every time you get your news in whatever form you get it from, I just find that it's a lot easier to stomach it by reading it, because then I don't have the visual that goes with it. Because I feel like if I watch the news on TV or if I watch a video on the internet, it's so much more horrifying when you have the visual aspect to go with it. So I prefer to just read it in print. But anyways, is it just my imagination, or does it seem like the frequency with which events occur is an everyday occurrence now? Every time you turn around, you hear about somebody has taken a machine gun and walked into an airport or a restaurant or a school or a movie theater and opened fire on a bunch of people. Now, how many psychos are there out there? I mean, really, when you think about it, because this is starting to happen all the time. Are people in general becoming less and less stable and more psychotic as time goes on? Or is it the world we live in and the pressures that everyone has to deal with that is making people more unstable, violent? I've listened to a discussion about this many times, and some people feel that it's the violence in the TV shows and the movies that we watch. Some people feel it's the video games that kids play that's very commonplace nowadays, that we're sort of becoming desensitized to the level of violence around us to the point where it doesn't even faze us anymore. Well, maybe there's something wrong with me, but it fazes me. It disturbs me that we live in a world where violence is so commonplace. My friend Nancy had posted something on her Facebook page about this new thing that kids are doing called Knockout. It's a game that they play where a bunch of teenagers will pick out a stranger randomly, and one of them will just run up to the person and punch them in the head as hard as they can and try to knock them out with just one punch. They do it for two reasons. It's a test of strength. They want to see how strong, how tough, how cool they are. And they do it because they think it's fun. I mean, this takes playing violent video games to a whole new level. I mean, now we're taking the violence that these kids are associating with games and bringing it into the real world. But what's horrifying about this is people are dying. They're just, you know, they're not just being knocked out, they're being killed by this punch because, you know, their necks are being smashed or they're being hit at a very sensitive point in their head that's like a pressure point or something that's causing, you know, something impacting inside them to explode or whatever. I don't know the medical terminology behind it. I'm just saying that people are dying because of kids playing this game. And it's just now starting to get national attention because I had never heard of it until I read about it on Nancy's Facebook page. But then I read the link that she posted that was associated with it, and I think that was a newspaper in Washington, D.C. But then later that day, USA Today posted something about it on their website, and then my mom was telling me that she saw them talking about it on the news last night. And so as it's gaining national attention, of course, what's going to happen? More kids are going to want to play this game. And of course, that's bound to happen. Anytime you bring attention to something, it increases in popularity with the kinds of people who may be interested in doing this. So this is going to be a very scary situation because, and it's only happening right now in large cities, but what happens when this spreads to the suburbs? I mean, I'm not saying that the people who live in the suburbs are any more valuable than the people who live in the cities. No. Everybody is valuable everywhere. Human life is precious. But why would anybody want to do this in the first place? You know, I guess I can't wrap my brain around the head of a teenage boy, because that's who's doing this. But have we devalued human life to the extent where nobody matters anymore? I mean, I live in Massachusetts, but there's been a string of robberies at over 30 Dunkin' Donuts have gotten robbed in the Massachusetts, Rhode Island area over the course of the last month. And they haven't caught anybody. I don't think they even have any suspects. Somebody will just walk into a Dunkin' Donuts, tell the cashier to empty out the register, and so far I don't think anybody has gotten hurt, and they've just, made a clean getaway and everything. But it's everywhere. It's robberies, it's this new knockout game, it's psychos with machine guns walking into public places, taking out as many people as they can. What's happening with the world? Is this just how it is now? I refuse to accept that. I mean, we've got these terrorist acts on a grand scale. We've got planes crashing every time you turn around. I mean, I know that's accidents, so that's different, but, well, it wasn't an accident when 911 happened and all that, but I don't know. I just feel like it's becoming a daily occurrence now, I guess is all I'm trying to say. And when did this all happen, and when did we accept it as part of everyday life? I mean, we need to realize that we're all human beings, and we need to work together to make this a more enjoyable place to live. I mean, is that the problem? Is it because everybody is under so much pressure from so many different places that people are, well, if you can't beat them, then join them? Is it that kind of mentality? That if people can't live a peaceful, happy life, that they're just going to jump on the bandwagon and become a part of the problem instead of part of the solution, and become a violent person because everything and everyone around them is becoming violent? I don't know. All I know is it bothered me enough to make a video about this. And this is my next question for you guys. This is supposed to be a makeup channel, but more and more I'm finding that I'm interested in current events and what's going on in the world, and I'm starting to realize how insignificant the whole makeup thing is. I mean, I have enough makeup to last me the rest of my life. And what would you think if all of a sudden this channel became something totally different, and we discussed current events, what's going on in the world, the news of the day? I'm really, wondering if, I mean, I don't want everybody to just unsubscribe because now it's not makeup anymore, but what if I mix it up and you never know what this video is going to be about? What would you think about that? It's a big wide world out there. There's so many things that we could talk about and discuss. Speaking of which, I know I've said this before, but if you leave a comment and I don't comment back, if you want me to interact with you, you need to take a look at your Google Plus settings. If you don't want any communication back and forth type thing, that's fine. That's your choice. But I just want you to know, if I don't answer you, it's because I can't, because I have tried to respond to several of you, and I get a message at the top of the screen that says you are not allowed to answer this person or something like that, and that's because of your privacy settings. So if you don't care, fine, but if you want a response, just go take a look at them so that I can comment back to you if that's what you want. So I think I've said quite enough today. I've opened up a big can of worms about the world that we live in and the everyday violence we are confronted with. I mean, it's horrifying, but this is how it is, folks. This is our reality now. And how comfortable are you with that? I mean, do you just accept it, or is there something we can do to counteract it? I mean, I have some ideas, and just wanted to throw this out here and talk to you a little bit about it. And that is it. That is today's video, you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.